8 o'clock now.
Do it when we get to it then?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
That'll
That'll be fine. Miss Fleury.
Should be good.
Hadn't heard.
All right, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Chairman Tibbs.
I'm here.
Mr. Knight. Mr. Chapman. Mr. Harris.
Yeah.
Ms. Fleur.
Not present.
Probably. I'll wait.
Ms. Hartsogg's here.
Did everyone get their packets? Oh, yeah. Looks like. I want to thank Daryl and Gloria for getting these things out. Y'all about a week and a half ahead of time, huh?
We're on the schedule it's supposed to be. What was that, Mr. Chapman? So it's on the schedule it's supposed to be.
Well, I just want to recognize Gloria and Daryl for getting this thing going.
And it's a team effort
Yeah.
because we got other reports and everything. Everybody's on the right schedule now.
Yeah, this is great. All right, this you have before you the minutes from the last meeting. Any comments or discussion? If not,
I make a motion to be approved.
in a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, on to number 3 claims, like $346,000 for the month of December. Daryl, any outstanding claims that we need to discuss? Pretty much in line with normal
Yeah, it's just
operations.
typical payments for December time of year. Had a couple over and above normal with the repairs that our dump truck, we had to put a radiator in it. We've had to do some catch-up work on it, and you'll see a couple more bills coming in on that. And the city shop was able to do the radiator, so it saved us some money in the long run. The other only unusual things you'll see in there from Tri-State Graphics, the purchase of the banners and our refrigerator magnets for our promotional of our website and online payment, etc.
Okay.
It was only $400-something. Everything else is typical.
All right, any questions or discussion about the claims?
Motion to be approved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so moved. On to our financial report, page 10. Take us away, Daryl.
Just want to point out that this report includes all the audit entries from FY13 fiscal year audit, and the main categories to look at on each statement, the budget statement and the income statement, is the year-to-date information. That gives us some accurate, up-to-date information, including the audit entries. It took some payments that were made in fiscal year 14 back to 13 where they're supposed to be, because we just have to do that. Some of the bills don't come in until October and November.
Right.
So the year-to-date information is up-to-date financially where we're at. Overall, you see the summary that Gloria's prepared. We're in pretty good shape, keeping expenses down. Revenues are slightly below for December, but year-to-date they're up by $30,000 above projections and above current budget. We're maintaining operations. We'll probably start spending some additional money because of the time of year comes up, and holidays are over, so we'll be doing a lot of projects we've got on our list. So some of the budgeted items will start getting spent in the next few months. Overall, like I said, revenues above current budget for the first 3 months, $30,000. We've maintained expenses down $67,000 for 3 months. So that gives us a net budget-wise of roughly $95,000 to deposit. Balance sheet also includes audit entries and some things shifted around previous year, long-term debt versus short-term debt. But overall, I think we're down on total assets, 104,000, because of audit entry shifting stuff around and paying stuff off.
Right.
Balance sheet does balance liabilities and assets. Income statement, just a different way of presenting our year-to-date expenses and revenue. It also includes amortization and depreciation, amortization, and interest for our bond, our debt service. Year-to-date net income, $121,241.94, and prior year-to-date was $63,195, so about almost double income year-to-date. On the cash flow, which I like to do monthly, is actually money in, money out. We got about $190,000 to the good this year so far, cash in, cash out, which doesn't show in some of this because of accounting method. So overall, we're in good shape financially. You'll see on the last page of that, page 19, we hadn't spent anything the last couple months on capital expenditures. We're ramping all that up, so y'all are gonna get overwhelmed the next few months with items to spend in those areas. We wanted to build up some cash to be able to expense some of those things, so we're on full go now since the first year has passed.
What specifically, what are the capital expenditure projects? Can you talk a little bit about those?
The projects we're gonna be doing, this current year, 2 vehicles, paving of the office parking lot, manhole and line repair, replacement rehab, $40,000. Barber Creek manhole, $50,000. Number 3 check pump at the wastewater plant, activated sludge pump valve, $10,000. Our tank maintenance program, $150,000. And we got something on the agenda related to that. Distribution line replacement and rehab, $50,000, and lift station pump replacement at $60,000. And we've been working towards a lot of this. We just hadn't got it to bid out for them. We're almost there now.
Right.
So that's why you'll see some of the expenses start coming, and we'll be coming before the board to get authorization to bid some of this stuff.
Well, overall, we're keeping our expenses down. Revenues are really
In line.
in line, yeah. Well, doing a good job. If you're not making the money, then you don't need to be spending it, and keeping expenses down. So that's keeping us in the black.
Cash flow positive.
Positive is good. All right, any questions about financials?
Roy, you got anything to add to?
All right, let's move on to old business here. Water and wastewater status on page 20.
Okay, during the month of December, we averaged 50,560,000 gallons of water for an average daily flow of 1.63 million. And we sold 38,635,200 gallons. Leaves us with an uncountable factor of 12.03%. All the samples were good in the system. No cause for investment. We have well 4 and well 7 offline to save money at this time. And then on the wastewater side, we processed 52 million gallons of water at 1.69 million gallons per day. We had a 99.58% removal on biofeedstock and then a 99.19% removal close in the salt.
We had almost 10 inches of rain in December. Everybody get this daily flow sheet here?
Yeah.
You can tell the rainy days, can't you?
And, we've been not having the spikes, but we've researched it, and our influent and effluent pumps ran the same amount, they increased the same amount. So that tells us it's in the system, coming to the plant, not at the plant itself, because they did have the, even though they had 10 inches of rain, they had the basins down as far as possible so we can get the rain overflow, rain infiltration. And we feel like it's coming from north of Gammage Road in Gammage Road area or Lake Point Industrial Park based on run times of those lift stations, and we're got to get in the field and track down where a manhole is gotten knocked off, or people are taking the cleanout caps off again. You know, we've been in a constant battle in that area to keep people from draining their yards in the sewer systems.
And you can kind of track that based on the pumps. The
Run times of the pump.
Run times of the
You know,
pump.
if they typically run 3 hours a day and all of a sudden when we get this spike, they run 5, 6 hours, we know somebody's draining something or a manhole lid's got knocked off and it's allowing the water to inflow in the system.
You can isolate, kind of
Then you gotta
isolate.
walk the lines and find where the
Right.
problem is.
Back on the water status, the water system status up here, the unaccounted for 6 million gallons, is that a billing?
Not certain, looked into it a little bit, Mr. Chairman, and it appears that maybe the last week, you know, our last read date was around the 18th, and so we had that 10, 12 days at the end of the month that wasn't accounted for, and that was some colder weather, so all my people ran the water, and hopefully it averages out next month, because we pumped 1.5 million less, but we billed 5 million less than the previous month, so that tells me it should have been about average, because, you know, people's gonna use the same amount of water per month this time of year because they're not irrigating the yard, so it should be typical. And it's down on the water sold, so it tells me that we read a little early and people use more water at the end of the month, and hopefully that will come to fruition, that forecast will come to fruition. We'll catch it this month when the bill goes out, in the month of January. Because it's double what our typical unaccounted for bins.
Yeah, I noticed that. Okay,
Can I point out one other
Sure,
thing right up there? On that same area on top of 20, the prelude, I just want to point out that prior to us rotating the wells off, because of our low demand, we were using about 4.6 million gallons a day for prelude water. Now it's around 2.5 million, so that's 2 million gallons a month not going back down hole, which saves us pumping power, chlorine, a whole bunch of things.
Right.
So it saves us quite a bit of money, and also the other usage includes metered water that goes to a chlorine injector. So taking those pumps offline, also we don't have to inject chlorine that goes back down hole. So that saves us another about 500,000 gallons.
till it's needed, yeah.
So that's, you know, roughly 2 to 2.5 million gallons a month we're saving by rotating these wells off.
Yeah, that's excellent. All right, any questions?
Page 2 on that, Michael, you want to elaborate on page 2?
Before we go to page 2, Michael, what is suspended solids? What is that?
You don't want to know.
It's the brown stuff in the water.
Okay, we'll leave it at that then. They tell me I don't want to know, I leave it at that. Another thing, this water that's running from this area down, David, you probably know more what I'm talking about, running down Union Street, and it's running heavy daily. It was on, I thought you had a busted pipe. I got to forgive, I want y'all to forgive me first. When I see water running like that real heavy, and I be on the road a lot, I call you to let you know. And I find out that it's water running from, I guess the hospital, running down Union Street, or was it the pipes up on Union Street?
We had 2 busted water lines on
Yeah.
Union Street. That we fixed. When you called me,
Yeah,
we had 2 busted lines. That day, but most of the water you see running by this back near house,
yeah.
that's coming out the ground, just straight like spring or something.
Damn.
A lot of groundwater. I've seen a lot of it
Just like ground.
in my travels throughout the city. Have to stop and check it.
Yeah, one on each side, didn't it?
Yeah, one we said.
Yeah. All right, y'all, Darryl, don't get upset with me when I get called, you know, and I just,
No, we need all the help we can get. We appreciate you
I
letting
just
us know.
think when things like that happen, you know, I think it'll be really saving the water department if we get it fixed as quick as possible.
Exactly. It costs us a little overtime sometimes, but it saves us money in the long run, so we appreciate you making us aware of it.
Okay. Thank you for telling me about the silence Barbara told me.
I didn't say shut up.
It's a technical term.
I did not say shut up.
Okay, now
real
on page 21.
You don't want to know.
Might be gonna continue, page 21.
And the Barber Creek pump is still, that lift station will still have loaner pumps. We're getting close to finalizing, what we're gonna do there with hydro service. I think Daryl's waiting on email from an engineer.
Been waiting another 2 weeks now? since
Right.
We've sent in the information, but we did meet with Hydro Service about their bills for all that, and they agreed so far to waive, what, how much, 3,500, 30-something hundred, 3,000-something hundred? I don't have the exact number, but
These are the pumps where we feel like there's some warranty.
yeah.
Right.
It's debatable, and we've been debating it back and forth with the manufacturer. Hydro Service was the pump supplier. ABS is the manufacturer, and we've been dealing with the manufacturer engineer. Myself and Burns has been involved, trying to all agree to what the impellers should be in there and what's creating the problem that they broke. But Hydro Service has paid out of their pocket $3,000 something so far of their expenses, helping us on that.
The Lake Point pump, number one, it failed. We had the quotes, I had quotes in the barrel for that repump. And
What age is that pump, Michael, you know?
it was put in 89.
89?
Yep.
So it's got its service.
The F-work pump is still waiting on quotes for it. The regional pump, it has a broken impeller. We did receive an impeller, but it was the wrong one. The size of the shaft is different, so I can't be the right one. 431 North, number one, we have a broken pump stand, base elbow, and a guide claw bracket. We're gonna need to replace those and get quotes on that.
And that's one of the stations we have on our capital plan for this year that's already been approved to replace both pumps and the apparatus in there. So we're trying to marry it all together. It just failed before we got to the project. And fortunately, I want to elaborate, Friday, we went down to check the other pump because we felt like we had a problem. It wasn't maintaining because we only got one pump in there. And they pumped it down, and the other pump was just about to break and fly off, and we'd had no pumps in there. So they jerry-rigged the original pump, the other pump, to the stand so it will hold together until we can get them replaced. Is that accurate, Michael?
Correct.
So we were proactive in that case and prevented a major problem like he's fixing to tell you about Edgewood.
Do we have a pump inventory that's operating in the field that gives the age of each pump? I'd like to see that, just to see.
And that's what we handed out to the board a while back when we approved the capital project. We had the ages and the hours runtime. That's how we determined priority 1, priority 2, and priority 3 replacement schedule. And like I said, these are on priority 1. We just hadn't got to them yet.
25 years, we need to do that with all of them, don't we?
Yeah. I want to point out this is ESCO pumps, and they're great pumps, and pumping process and flight pumps are great pumps. But no pump today is made like it was 25 years ago. So the pumps we're buying, or the Class A pumps, will not last 25 years now. They're not designed to, because they can't compete with the cheaper models. They had to bring down their quality, not to the level of the cheaper models, but down to be able to sell anything.
Be competitive, yeah.
So your pumps aren't, is that accurate in your opinion, too, Mr. Burns? Pumps aren't gonna last 25 years we're buying today. I don't care if you buy the best one they got there and pay 3 times and go on the race.
That's kind of like refrigerators now.
And it's just not gonna happen, so I just wanna make sure the board's aware of that on all these new pump purchases. We were hoping for 10, the best ones maybe 15, 16 years.
So is that new now? The new pumps, about 10 years?
Yeah, if we buy the middle of the road ones, if we buy the best ones, maybe 15. It just depends on the
And
manufacturer.
rebuilt?
The cheaper ones, 5 to 6. So
You know, that's
we
why
weigh that in with the cost of each thing. We get cheaper ones, middle road prices, and top end, and we weigh in what we think it's gonna last and the dollar per year cost, and try to get the the best bang for the bucks, how we assess each site.
At our Edgewood lift station, we had number 2 pump go out, which left us with no pump in that station. Our pump was supposed to be here the day before, the new pump was,
The other new pump.
but it did not come in. So we overflowed on the ground for 28 hours. And we did get the pump the next morning, and we got it put in by lunch. So then
Pump.
all reports stayed in.
Good enough. I thought you were done. The pump that failed was a brand new, the new pump we just put in, what, 4 months ago? The motor failed because of seal leakage, allowed oil into the motor and shorted it out. So it's a warranty item, but this is one of the top of the line pumps. It's supposed to last 15 years. We paid $15,000 for it
What pump, is
versus
that the new pump we just bought last year?
just recently.
What kind of pump was that? The Fairbanks
Thanks
pump
more,
failed?
yeah.
Oh my
Supposed to be
God.
top of the line Cadillac.
It took forever to get it, didn't it?
So, that's sort of what we're dealing with, and that's not common, but it's something that happened, a seal failure. So the new pump was in Nashville the day before, and we told them we didn't care what it took to get it here, and it was here the next morning at 9 o'clock. So we were able to limit the overflow to this.
Do we have any recourse to go back on all this pumping and stuff that we had to do? I mean, will they cover that?
The warranty for repairs, it don't cover our labor. That's the problem. And it doesn't cover our labor, and it doesn't cover probably, I don't know, Courtney could answer this, it wouldn't extend to any liability anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, typically, just a standard warranty would only cover
Yeah.
repairs. It would exclude, but you'd have to look at the written warranty to be certain.
Yeah, but it's just they're hard material, the pump, motors, all that stuff they supplied, wouldn't be no other ancillary cost, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you'd have to assert some other type of cause
Well,
of
we
action against them.
we researched pumps when we used the Fairbanks, and we thought that we were buying a pump that would last.
Because that's the main station, so we put the best
That's
pumps
right.
in there. Anyway, we'll see, and they treat us right, they came, got the pump here, took our old pump, and was supposedly gonna rebuild it for free, which is the second pump, we got it in, it's operating, hopefully won't have any problems, but, that's some of the assessment we do on lift stations, that's the main station, so we wanna go with top of the line pumps if we can afford it. Unfortunately, this time it didn't, that pump failed, seal failure, but. Just so y'all know, Edgewood, if you're not familiar, is off of Hunter's Inlet, between Hunter's Inlet and Cypress Cove in that bottom. And we did have a customer call ADEM, and, we'd already called ADEM and done what we're supposed to, reported it and all that stuff, put signs out because of the overflow, but the customer wasn't happy and didn't ever call us, they called ADEM direct, because they've been unhappy with us before because of the smell. They live at the lot next to the station, and there's not a lot we can do when the wind shifts. I mean, it's raw sewage coming from a lot of places, so it's not, even when it doesn't overflow, it vents. So we tried to work with the customer anyway, and ADEM was here, just ironically doing sampling at the wastewater plant, annual check sampling, and so they went down there and got samples, their sample team did. I spoke with ADEM on the phone, they called after the customer complained, talked to me the next day about everything we did, and we'd done everything in their eyes that we could have done, even though we had to overflow.
Are we still using the deodorizer?
Yeah, but in those cases like Edgewood, it doesn't help a lot. The flow's so great, it doesn't have time to help him, because it's such a large flow coming in. But ADEM, so far, we don't expect any more action out of ADEM, because they felt like verbally to me that we did everything possible we could. And we were pumping with our back truck all we could, sucking out the lift station, taking it to another collection system, knowing we couldn't keep up, but we were making an attempt. We're doing all we could.
Right.
Last item on here is number 3, the effluent pump at the wastewater plant went out, and it is on
That's less than a year old, right? Motor?
the rebuild. It was rebuilt less than a year ago.
Is that a warranty,
Yes.
the rebuild? What do they give you on the rebuilds? 6 months?
That was a year.
Yeah, they give you a year on the rebuild, okay.
7, repair jobs listed here, and 2 of them are under warranty. And one of them by itself is a little over 11,000. We have estimates on the other 4. They're not gonna be that expensive.
No, the broken impeller for a regional lift station is gonna be 900 or 1,000.
It's
$600. And like I said, he said they already sent it, but it was wrong size. Epworth lift station will probably be a middle of the road pump, around the $6,000-7,000 range, so
431 more than one would be.
the big one, and
That's 2 pumps, but they've already been approved on the back.
yeah, we got $25,000 in the capital project budget for both pumps and the guide rail replacement, et cetera. And we'll be bringing that back to the board for approval, or, yeah, bid out and approval on the bid. Does that answer your question, Mr. Chapman?
All right. Any more questions about this?
That page 22 is related to the Lake Point Industrial Park item that Michael brought up, and that's his memorandum to me. Y'all have established a $7,500 limit for general manager spending, so I need board approval to purchase the brand new ESCO pump from Hydro Service, as Mr. Taylor recommends, for the amount of $11,525. The last sentence of his memo says, I recommend going with Hydro Service and the new ESCO pump because it is a new pump, motor, and impeller with a 5-year warranty and exact replacement for the existing pump, which lasted over 20 years. So I concur with Michael's recommendation and recommend the board approve the purchase of that pump.
Okay, do we have a motion to grant this?
Move to accept the
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else, Mr. Taylor?
All right, let's look at the activity report on page 23.
Just a couple of things I'd like to point out. Most of the December 2013 items are typical, just average for the months previous. I did do a little annual calculation from January 13 to December of 13 on our mail-in payments, because you know the general manager, interim general manager Tibbs implemented trying to get more people on ACH, and then the end of the summer, first of the fall, we implemented our new website online payment and our phone pay by phone. The mail-in payments have dropped or increased 149 from January of 13 to December of 13. Walk-in payments decreased 337 from between those 2 months. And I think that's one of the goals that you established, is trying to get that walk-in traffic decreased. Our online payment and phone payment and automatic debit went from 467 to 829, which is a 402 customer increase. So some of those customers are now paying online, paying by phone, and doing the ACH, for roughly about 400 between those 2 months increase. So that was the sort of the goal that was established. You can see it's about an 8% swing in our customer base. So, you know, it's helping, but it's not the big home run we hope it would be, because it saves us time and money when people pay, you know, ACH. You know, we don't have to account for it, don't have to have people up front and load it, and our customers lined up out there. So it's not having the big bang that we hope. But hopefully the website, the more it gets out there, and we're working on trying to get a option on our website where the customers can pay by bank draft. It don't cost them the $3 and something that may be stopping some of them from paying by credit card or online. So we're working on that, and that would be beneficial to the customer also.
Well, it's doing a couple of things. It's providing service to our customers and making it a little easier for them to pay, and also taking some pressure off the front.
Now, we are to date encountering more paperwork and more bookwork because of the online payment, because Christie has to reconcile it one at a time, because of the way they batch them in, you can't tell who's just going where, and she has to individually do it. So it's at this point, costing more backroom time, but less front counter time.
Is there a way for it to come right through the system and post the payment?
We're working on it, with CNI on that, we're trying to figure that out. I mean,
Yeah.
that's my opinion.
Yeah, that was my
It all
vision.
automatically posted the right accounts, and she shouldn't have to go in and make sure it's all posted.
That's right, that's right.
And it's not doing that, it has to be manually done, and we're working on that.
Any questions about the activity report? Comments? All right, on to new business here. We have a visitor this morning. Sherry Pichette from the Horticulture Department.
I think everybody knows me. I don't know if you know this or not, but we got a grant through the Alabama Department of Economic Development to do a greenhouse, teaching greenhouse in an outdoor classroom. Well, the grant is for $40,000. 27,000 of that, or our match is 8,000. 27,000 of that is what the greenhouse itself costs. For our match, we're putting it up ourselves to do it in kind, so we don't have to spend any other money. What I'm asking for is any money left over goes toward additional stuff for an outdoor classroom for children and field trips and things like that. For benches, tables, anything that we can put out there with money that's left over. Well, since we have a greenhouse, you can't grow flowers in it unless you have water. So we need a tap. There's not a water meter over there. And a tap for 1 inch meter is what we need, would cost $1,379. And what I'm asking the board to approve is a free tap, so that money can be spent on additional things for outdoor classrooms. And by the way, I paid like 13 water bills out of our budget. Throw that in.
You say that 1 inch tap costs about $13.79.
That's exact.
That's our established tap fee.
That's
for
the
1
tap
inch.
fee, and I'll pass it
Well,
over.
let's see that.
Anyone requesting, and that's accurate, right?
Darryl, do you have a problem with that?
I don't have the authority to approve it, but I don't have
do
a
you have-
problem with it. It's at the board's discretion.
Well,
Another city entity, so I mean, it's
What's the consensus of the board?
Well, I think we should.
Second.
I make a motion that we do that.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Well, somebody's close to Texas.
that would be, who's that, Chips? Kahina?
All right, let's move on here. Engineering contract for tank maintenance project.
All right.
No attention.
Just to give the board some background, last time we spoke with y'all, I think we told you we had figured out a way to enter this tank agreement with US Tank that went through the RFP process last year. When we got down to the details and between Courtney, Burns, and myself, the only way to meet the bid law, or not violate the bid law, let's put it that way, and protect the water board and protect the contractor, we just couldn't figure out a way to do it. Because we'd have to renew 11 contracts every year, one for each tank. And no contract could be over, $15,000 a year. It just was impossible to do. So we feel like we got a backup punt. We need to bid this out one time, not a bid out for each tank, but one time bid, and it's for a 10, 11-year project to rehab all of our tanks and maintain them during that time. Just like the agreement with US Tank would have been, except this is a locked-in contract where the contractor knows exactly what's expected. We know what we're gonna get, and regardless of, I'm not here, Courtney's not here, Burns is not here, the water board gets what they originally wanted. It's not an agreement. And we feel like that's the best way to proceed, protect the water board, protect the contractor, and comply with bid law.
Right.
Now, we're going to forego a loop, not have all the engineer expense that I'd put in my projections way back when, because we're only bidding it out one time. We're not bidding 11 different contracts and having to do the engineering individually on 11 different tanks. So that's why we're not going to be same as much money as we thought, but we're not going to spend the $2.9 million to do it like we would on an individual basis.
The only thing I was gonna say is that, this started with Clayton, and they had started with the proposal process, which several communities and cities go through. The proposal process, and what I did was just to verify that process, as we were getting to the end, I just wanted to document my file and just put something in there, verifying that process is what we should be doing. And there's an Attorney General's opinion that's directly on point, that these type contracts are not considered engineering services or any kind of professional consulting type services, and so they should be bid. I don't know why other communities and what the specifics, they may do annual contracts versus multi-year, and so we looked at trying to do an annual contract, and there's just really no way to make sure that everything's in there that could protect the board, to stay consistent with the proposal process that had been started long before us. And so anyway, so that's why we just got to back up and do the bid.
The bid, okay.
Well, and you're right, the other authorities and cities that are doing this are, the newer ones are starting to run into the same problem. Before, nobody was asking questions, it was just being done. More and more we're hearing now that, well, bid law won't allow us to do it. Some of the cities, some of the authorities are saying, heck, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. But I think they're doing it at risk, obviously. But it's going to be right. This would make you right with bid law, really.
If you only have one or two tanks, you can do it under the old method, but with our volume of tanks and what we're asking to be done,
Right.
it's a long-term project and it needs a long-term contract.
Yeah, it's under 50.
It's gonna be 50.
Some of them probably apply to that, some cities.
We have some immediate
Well,
needs.
Yeah.
Depending on if you were to do an annual contract, there's potential that it would be under 50.
Right.
But if you go, the problem is trying to bind somebody for what they're supposed to do in the second year, the third year, or the fourth year, when you're just doing it on an annual contract. And since the crux of this is paying for maintenance in the future over time, there's not a way to put that schedule in there without being
Violating bid law.
without violating bid law. And so we just couldn't we just felt like the safer thing to do was to put it out for bid so that we could have a contract that everybody would understand and would be simple.
Does that catch the board up? Any questions on why we got this next item on here? The contract, didn't want it's about 20 pages or so. I didn't want to include it in the agenda as reason it's not just in volume purposes, but the proposal from Goodwin Mills and Kaywood to inspect our tanks with their NACE certified inspector, so that when they write the specs and say what tank 2 needs, they've already had their inspector do it, not rely on what U.S. Tanks inspector said. That's $6,000, and then to prepare the bid documents, go through the bid process, and to follow up on that's another $6,000, for a total of $12,000 for the Goodwin Mills and Kaywood engineering contract on it. And that's what the agenda item covers, is the Goodwin Mills and Kaywood engineering contract for $12,000, and that includes inspection of every tank inside and out, and design of the bid specs, etc. Courtney has reviewed the contract at the end of last week for legal purposes and okay, told me she's okay with it?
Yeah.
One more thing after that. What's not included in that $12,000 is to come back and inspect the tank as a painting or right. And because in order to do it, if I did that, I'd have to put in a pretty good cost. So instead, what Darryl and I talked about was when they paint it, really all I need to do is send our NACE's, National Association of Corrosion Engineers, certified people to tank inspection. But we would send our guy over here maybe twice during that painting process or 3 times to just check paint coats as he puts them on. There's no need to pay for a guy to stand here and watch him paint. So in order to save some money, we'll just send our guy over as needed, basically, as Darryl calls.
Whatever.
Hey, we need to do that.
The board requires or requests they come in and inspect at different stages of it. Each tank repaint. Now, it won't happen on every tank every year, but we have 1 tank a year to be repainted.
Right.
So what we did was we included just an hourly cost and put the hourly rate in there.
No, Burns has furnished his time to you in our discussion on all this. And I think us as a three-person team, Courtney, Burns, and I, last month, after the meeting, we discussed it again on how we can get it where we're protected. The contractor's getting fairly rewarded, and we're complying with good law. And we've already beat it around. We just can't come up with it where the board's protected. And that's the bottom line. We want to make sure the board gets what they're paying for and gets it how we need it. So hopefully bidding it out as a project, all 11 tanks, we're going to incur the engineering for everything, and we're going to incur the higher bid as time goes on. But and it being competitive, maybe the companies that put in RFPs will be a little more competitive. Because see, the way RFP process works, you pick the best contractor you feel is the best, and then you go negotiate the price. You know, that usually gets you a good price, but somebody could come in better. We'll just see. Maybe we'll come in with a better price. You don't know till we bid it.
Let me just go back over the engineering fee. We're talking about a $2 million project, basically. You know, and so, you know, we bid them individually. We did an engineering contract for each tank every year for painting. You know, it'd probably be, you know, it wouldn't be 10%, it'd probably be maybe 5% of that cost, what it costs. So, you know, doing this, we're just doing one deal.
I think, and it's my recommendation, the board approve this is the best route for the organization.
Right, I mean, we can't come up with the specs ourselves.
Because it's going to be detailed paint, type of paint, thicknesses, all this kind of stuff on each individual tank. Or in general, and then what's the minimum required on each individual tank. And when we're going to have a schedule attached to the bid on what each tank, as we need them, as we think they need to be done based on their inspections, not based on somebody else's inspection.
And we have some immediate needs that we need to have a plan in place here pretty.
On our 13 sanitary survey that ADEM did on the water system, they pointed out 2 tanks, tank 1 and tank 7, that are in immediate need of rehabbing, and they're not been done for 25 years. So, well, tank 1 was, but the tank 7 has not been done since 88, 87.
There's been nothing done to that tank since 88.
Since it was built. Tank 1 was rehabbed in 95.
Clean and inspect.
Really, the last time you did any rehab on any tank was 2006. So, you know, your newest rehab has been 7 years.
Almost
8 years. And what we did is we'll probably push that out to the end of this 10-year time frame. So it'll be 15, 16 years old by the time it gets a rehab again.
All right, I guess we need a motion to approve Daryl to start the bid process.
To enter into the engineering contract with Bill Mills and K.
Well,
Wood
first, yeah.
for preparing the bid documents and doing the bidding process, including tank inspections, in the amount of $12,000.
I move we accept that. Go forward.
All in favor? Get after it.
And we'll get, he has the wrong title for you, Mr. Chairman, and we'll get that corrected and get the contracts to you for execution when we get it corrected.
Okay. All right, C down here. Joel, you want to talk about that?
This was the ordinance that was passed by the city council back in December to increase the garbage fee at all. And this is informational item to y'all.
Jen, you addressed it to the board, so that's why I put it on the agenda.
Corey, you needed something in writing, so that's why.
We're working on that and should be implemented with the first billing in February, timeline.
Just mainly information on it.
All right, that's handled. All right, any more questions, comments, observations?
I've got an item I'd like the board to add to the agenda, Mr. Chairman. It's regarding our purchase of 2 vehicles this year that we had in our capital projects that were approved by the board coming in this fiscal year. And I know that I got time finally to look at it a little bit on Friday, and there's a February timeline on the state bid. It says the contract's good through September the 30th, but the dealers have put a February timeline. You got to get the order in by then before our next board meeting. So I'd like authorization to add that to the agenda on the vehicles. The board authorizes to purchase the vehicles. And we'll discuss the details.
Can I have a motion
To add it to the agenda.
to add it to the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
It's in your capital expenditures, right?
Yeah, but we have to come back to the board on each individual thing to get
Yeah.
y'all's authorization to bid it and purchase it. All right, did you take the vote?
It's on there.
Okay.
It's there.
All right, on that item, I'd like authorization from the board to proceed with the purchase of 2 vehicles on the state contract, which currently is around 17,922 for the type vehicle we're looking for, or within 3% from a local vendor if possible. I think that's been the board policy and the city policy in the past. If we can buy local, within 3%, buy local. And the reason I want that in is because the Chevrolets are not in the state contract, it's Fords. But if we can get Chevrolet within 3%, they got a 5-year warranty instead of a 3-year warranty. And also, if we got any warranty issues, we don't have to take the vehicle to Dothan or Headland or Abbeville or Phoenix City, wherever the closest Ford dealer is. We can take it right down here, and it saves us a lot of time, manpower, because every time we got to drop one off at a dealer, we got to take 2 men to go down there. So the other guy can bring the first guy back, so you lose half a day, 2 men, half a day.
We get your point there.
So,
Are we,
shut up, huh? Anyway, we got $50,000 in the budget, and including the lights and radios, we should be able to come under the budgeted amount, and I'd like authorization to proceed with purchase of these 2 vehicles at the state contract, but within 3% locally.
With that said,
before we vote, what are we replacing here?
The 1990s, mid-90s with 280-something thousand miles on it, an F-150, and what's the other vehicle? S10. We got several of them that we've already parked because they're not safe to drive, and we don't want to spend no more money on them. And it's going to replace those and take the ones those guys are driving and put them as a backup vehicle.
Okay. We're gonna sell those off,
The ones we have parked and the non-repairable ones, yeah, that we don't want to spend any more money on.
all right?
so
Now we have a motion. And a second? All in favor? You're authorized.
All right, thank you. One more item, some of y'all might have got phone calls, I know did, and several councilmen did, about the downtown fountain being frozen last week, or when it was real cold 2 weeks ago. We've set a policy now, because I had concerns about that also, Michael and I talked about it, that anytime it's forecast to be below 25 degrees for more than 6 hours, we're going to drain the fountain. See, we can't just shut it off because in the pump that's on water butts, so we got to drain the whole thing, and it's a pretty extensive process. So we feel like we're safe down to those levels. There was no damage last week when that occurred, except the big chunks of ice that were on it were, of concern it would break the fountain. So that doesn't happen again. We've set that policy, and I just want the board to know that.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that.
Below 25 degrees for more than 6 hours. We feel that will allow the fountain to have a little ice on it where people can take photographs, but not build up like it did last week and create a problem. That's why we wanted to have a little bit.
That's why we
But we don't want the chunk
let it
that was
freeze
there
up.
last week. That chunk of ice was probably 700 or 800 pounds. It was on the second layer last week. Yeah, the board spent in '07, I believe it was, $40,000+ rehabbing that, so we don't want to incur that again.
It's a beautiful fountain, and we sure don't want it to be damaged.
That was one of our inherited
Yeah.
community projects.
That's right, it's a showpiece in the town, and we gotta maintain it. So
I don't know if,
your plan allows for a little ice on it?
yeah,
Okay.
for aesthetic purpose. And the board hadn't noticed or hadn't been downtown after dark, we also have worked with the city to hang a light right above the fountain. We had a dimmer light in there, didn't really show it. Now we put a little brighter one where it shows the layers of the fountain. Because I think that's the centerpiece of downtown. The city's working hard, trying to attract, retail business downtown. So that was one of the things we felt like we could do for a couple $100 to help brighten it up a little bit in that area.
I was wondering if you had put lights around each tier.
Well, the problem is folks get in there and play sometimes, and we have electrical shock problems and liability, so that's why we went way up in there.
But I mean, it looks like each tier is lighter.
Yeah, but well, it's from that's that light above, that's that light above. And believe it or not, that was where the old red light was. We used the same wiring for that, where the old red light was in the center.
Is that right?
And the city electrical department helped us out doing all the installation. So it's a team effort.
All right, thank you, Darrell.
I don't have anything else, I don't think.
The only thing I have to report is I just want to say that I feel like we're moving in a positive direction with the water board. I appreciate everyone involved, all you guys back there, and Darrell, your leadership, Gloria, your leadership also. So keep up the good work.
Thanks for the compliment. The devil's in the details. We're trying to take care of the details, and the big picture works.
That's right. All right, any other comments, observation?
I do want to point out that Mr. Chapman was here 10 minutes early today. Jeez.
I was handling phone calls this morning about 6 o'clock.
What's unusual, that's the reason I pointed out.
He was early.
Did y'all start early this morning?
All right,
I think y'all started early.
do I have a motion we adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
All right.
Thank you for y'all's time.